What if Screamtail was in Gen 1 OU? Now, when Screamtail made it to the top 4 of the tournament montage video, I'm sure a lot of us are pretty shocked because it was the only one that wasn't very good competitively. It's literally, I think, in PU in current Gen 9. Holy crap! There is a reason this Screamtail is not in Gen 1. I just can't put in the words. I figured it was going to be good when I saw its stats and move pool, but I was not prepared for just how much it would dominate. I said this, I think I just said this is a OU video? Yeah, no, take it back. This is not a Gen 1 OU video. This is a Gen 1 Ubers video. And even then, this is one of the ones where it's more like Slaking or Regigigas. Because Screamtail is quite honestly that good. It doesn't abuse the Gen 1 mechanics as much as Slaking, but it has the exact perfect moves, perfect typing, and perfect move pool to win every single matchup. I'm not even kidding. Let's start with the fact that in Gen 1, everything has max EVs and DVs. So, Screamtail here is using max HP, max defense, max special defense, and max speed. That alone, if it had that in Gen 9, it probably would be a good Pokemon. I think it'd be really hard for Screamtail to be bad and unusable if it had all its stats maximized. And what about its worst stat? Oh, 65? That's really the exact same special as Snorlax. And Snorlax is a special attacker. Even without a boosting move, you still sometimes see Snorlax using moves like Ice Beam. But speaking of boosting moves, Amnesia makes Snorlax pretty good, along with every other Snorlax set. But guess what Screamtail also has? That's right! Amnesia! It's insane! And it has Thunderbolt, it has Ice Beam, it has Blizzard, and Stab Psychic. Oh yeah, that's right! It's a Psychic type! So unlike Slowbro, which is weak to Thunderbolt crits, and unlike Snorlax, who gets annoyed by Psychic special drops, Screamtail doesn't care! It has the perfect typing to be the strongest Amnesia user ever! The only one that's better than it is Mewtwo! And even then, you're gonna see momentarily, Screamtail can hold its own against Mewtwo. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind Screamtail becomes the third best Pokemon in Ubers. And you might even make an argument for it being better than Mew. And even that speed stat, 111. That is 1 point faster than Tauros and Gengar. It has Thunder Wave. So being able to outspeed the best Pokemon in OU, that alone makes it amazing. But then you can just always outspeed Gengar, so no matter what, you make Gengar useless. And also for Mewtwo, you can use Thunder Wave to paralyze it, which makes the Amnesia War a little bit in your favor. It's still Mewtwo, and it still has Recover, so that's a bit of a bummer. But still, that's really good. There is only one major weakness of Screamtail here, and that's the fact that, at least to my knowledge, looking at all these moves, it doesn't have any reliable recovery. Let me just double check real quick. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. And that's like the main thing it wishes it has. And yeah, I don't see anything here. It's, overall, this is just really funny. Because this is supposed to be a past Paradox form for Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff. I don't know at one point when it became so overpowered and why it devolved. But, yeah, it's just stupid good. One of the best Pokemon, if not the best, I've ever covered in Reason. Because technically, something like Deoxys Attack is probably the best thing I've ever covered. But we're not going to count, like, Legendaries, or Pokemon like Slaking, which were made to be limited by their abilities. Screamtail here is insane, and you're about to see why. Starting off with the boy himself, Tauros. So you're faster than Tauros, and you have really, really good bulk. What could possibly go wrong for Screamtail? The answer is crits exactly, but you can probably handle that. And I know some people are thinking, well, it probably isn't worth using Amnesia, because with Tauros' crit rate, you're just gonna blast through those special boosts. And I'm gonna say no. Ignoring the fact that Amnesia still boosts you defensively, so that alone makes it better than something like Sword Stance. Keep in mind, a crit is still really good with a 65 special. That's only 5 lower than Tauros' special. And Snorlax here, physical is probably your best bet because of paralysis and hyper beams and self-destruct. But even then, it's way more in Screamtail's favor. And I don't think it counts as a good matchup if you're using a self-destruct. Because you're forcing yourself to get rid of that Snorlax, which most people would rather they don't do. I didn't bother with I don't think I bothered with an Amnesia set, no. Because Amnesia is just pretty easy and straight to the point. Because it's both them boosting each other with the same special. But Screamtail has Stab Psychic, and it can paralyze. So obviously it will probably win. And there's not much Chansey can do either. Because even without Amnesia, it's just so bulky that Chansey has a hard time hurting it. Chansey has Recovery, sure, but Psychic lower special, and Screamtail can very easily boost up those Amnesias. So there's not much Chansey can do. It's overall just... like, obviously it's still Chansey, and to be honest, with Screamtail, you probably use Widescreen a lot more. But if you're forcing Chansey to use Widescreen, I think that should just tell you how good Screamtail really is. I don't even know if I've had a situation like this, where a Pokemon like Chansey needed to use Widescreen. It's hilarious, but also kind of terrifying at the same time. Now I know why it's called Screamtail, because she leaves everyone screaming. Pretty sure I've used both he and she pronouns for Screamtail this video. That doesn't really impact the content at all, I just thought to point that out. Now, Zam is one of the few Pokemon that can do a better job, but I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. That is 100% because of Recover. When for Recover, it would just always win with Amnesia. Screamtail would. And even with Recover, to be honest, I was probably just being done with this replay. And I should have gone for more Blizzard instead of Psychic. I don't know what's actually better in this context. I guess probably Seismic Toss. And for Screamtail, probably Blizzard. But the fact that Screamtail needs this setup, I think no matter what, that could go either way. Because both can paralyze each other, and with paralysis, that already makes it could go either way. But Zam definitely has the tools to where it could beat Screamtail. Although it would take a little bit of effort, and 100% would end with it being paralyzed. But even then, Zam definitely doesn't want to deal with Screamtail. Neither does Cloyster, or anything. There is literally nothing in this video that wants to deal with Screamtail. Not even Mewtwo. Even Mewtwo really is scared of a unparalyzed, fully healthy Screamtail. But, you know what? I'm gonna say it now. I think Cloyster fears it just a little bit more. And even with 5 Clamp and an Explosion, it is not enough to kill Screamtail. Because Screamtail is just that bulky. Because it needed to be, obviously. And next up we have Exeggutor. I don't think I bothered using Double Edge or Explosion, but it doesn't really matter. Explosion is Explosion, so obviously that's pretty good. But Double Edge wasn't going to do much. Psychic isn't doing much either. And the only real issue that Screamtail has is, outside of Recovery, is having to choose between Thunderbolt and Blizzard. Let me tell you a secret. Unlike Mewtwo, who, doesn't like Exeggutor or Slowbro, Screamtail here, the fact that in most ways it is just a second Mewtwo, it means it doesn't care as much when it comes to Pokemon like Exeggutor or Slowbro, because, especially in Exeggutor's case, it can very easily afford to just sit there and soak up turns. Oh man, the more I talk about it, the more I realize just how broken this guy is. Gengar doesn't like it either. Paralysis alone would make this a great matchup for Screamtail. But then it's a Psychic type with Stab Psychic. So what's Gengar really gonna do here? Even if it used Hypnosis, what damage is it going to do? Nothing, really. And Jolteon, you can paralyze Screamtail, but how much is that going to help you? Not at all, really. Jolteon just gets destroyed, and Screamtail can just profit. Didn't even get a crit, but Screamtail got a crit. That's hilarious. Good for Screamtail, though. They definitely deserved it. Now, Jinx is another one that can do decently well. Sweep is very relevant here, which I don't like to usually make Sweep a main reason for our viability, because obviously there's Sweep Clause, so it's not always going to be a factor. But I feel like for this one, it really is important, because Screamtail is one of those Pokemon that's just so dangerous. It is 100% one of your main sweep targets. So even though Sweep Clause is a thing, I think it's also very easy to say that you're going to try harder to try to make this one of the main things you're trying to put to sleep. You're not just going to put to sleep the first thing you see. But even without Sweep Clause, Jinx has pretty good special and resists Psychic. So Thunderbolt and Blizzard are not doing much. Or no, Psychic and Blizzard are not doing much. But speaking of Blizzard, Jinx's Blizzard with a crit does do good damage. So Screamtail would need to get a few Amnesias up, or to maybe, kill with Thunderbolt. So I think no matter what, it could go either way. The same could not be said for Rhydon. Even without Blizzard, let's say it's Thunderbolt, with Psychic already does good damage, and with Amnesia, it's a guaranteed 2-hit KO. Rhydon does nothing. Swellow can... Now, Swellow is a lot like with Mewtwo. Once you get all those Amnesias up, not only is it very annoying, but you can maybe win. But that's also assuming Screamtail doesn't have Thunderbolt. Or without Thunderbolt, Swellow just wins. But with Thunderbolt, it's still pretty close, because Surf can do pretty decent damage. And just looking at their base specials, it's 80 special versus 65, and Screamtail is not using Stab while Swellow is. But in spite of all of that, Thunderbolt does do more damage, it being a 3-hit KO. Despite that though, I'm still putting this as a could go either way, solely because of Paralysis. Because Paralysis is insane, and it means that either one of them could win. It just depends on who's not even luckier, just who's unluckier, to be completely honest with you. Alright, Starmie does not do much. Special Drop, Screamtail doesn't care about. Natter doesn't really care about Blizzard crits. It can destroy with either Thunderbolt, or it can do it the hard way with boosting Special and killing with Psychic. Starmie is completely useless. And the crit mattered there, in case you're wondering. That joke never gets old to me. Now next up we have Victory Bell. And I don't think anyone's going to be surprised to hear Victory Bell is not cooking against Screamtail. Luckily it's not always a 3-hit KO, or a 2-hit KO, which, that's something. But not enough to be relevant. You better hope Sweet Powder doesn't miss. And Zapdos does not do much better. Zapdos, it can paralyze, but Screamtail doesn't even care that much about paralysis because of it having Thunder Wave of its own, its bulk, and with Amnesia, it becomes the fastest thing on the field again. Not when Zapdos uses agility, of course, but against literally every other paralyzed target, Screamtail's gonna be the fastest thing. And it can also just sometimes crit with Blizzard. That's nice. I was originally going to end it here, but seeing just how busted Screamtail really is, I of course needed to put it up against the Mewbers. Mew is slower, so just getting a Thunder Wave off is already a pretty big advantage for the 1v1. And because of Screamtail's bulk, even with Mew's really high attack, it's like a 2-hit KO. So I guess it's not that bad. But still, Screamtail can be very annoying with both crits and just hitting really hard. Mew fears Screamtail when it's paralyzed, because it can do a lot of damage. But we only got one thing left. Mew versus Screamtail. Last and most certainly not least, how would the king of Ubers do? Well, like I said before, Screamtail having paralysis is already a big advantage. Not enough to where it always beats Mewtwo, but it makes the Amnesia War a little bit in Screamtail's favor. Like, it won't always be enough to be relevant, because Mewtwo is still incredibly tanky, and has a very good crit rate, which also, as you can imagine, helps. But still, if you're Mewtwo, you don't really want to focus on Screamtail, because any resources you're using here can't be used against the enemy Mewtwo. And yeah, you're not going to beat the enemy Mewtwo immediately afterwards. Or I guess you might be able to. But there's more to worry about as well, such as putting a lot of energy into beating Screamtail, and then they just bring out their Snorlax or an Explosion user. And Mewtwo just kind of fears Screamtail. Now, I'm not going to be crazy and put it in good matchup, but yeah, no, Mewtwo hates this. It's probably going to win, just like how it's probably going to win against Light Screen Chansey. But that's going to be after a lot of effort, which it really does not want to deal with. So I have no idea what I did. I don't know why Screamtail is as broken as it is. Here's the tier list. It's insane. There's really not a bad matchup. Obviously, there is the unwinnable matchup towards Beedrill, because the Bug type beats the Psychic type, and the Poison type beats the Fairy type. Oh yeah, that's right, technically Screamtail is a Fairy type. It does literally nothing in Gen 1, since the only Dragon move is Dragon Rage, and I'm going to give you a bit of a spoiler. Submission, even Mewtwo's Submission, was probably not going to be used on Screamtail. And that alone makes it Ubers. But yeah, easily the third best Pokemon in Ubers. Maybe even argue it being the second best Pokemon. And it's way, way, way too much for OU. In fact, I just did Miraidon, but I think Screamtail is actually better than Miraidon. Hilarious. Now, I'm pretty sure I already did a Fluttermane video, but even if I didn't, just know that Fluttermane has a really garbage move pool in Gen 1, so it's not even worth looking into. But yeah, that's like the 3 Paradox Pokemon from Trevor and a montage done. And to be honest, I'm still having fun making these, so I'm probably going to take over, or take care of some other Paradox Pokemon, such as Koraidon and Roaring Moon. What do you think about Screamtail? Do you think it's way too overpowered for Gen 1? Obviously. But tell me how overpowered you think it is in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. This is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.